belong to you. I find the things that you do will make me feel alright. You know I work all day to get your money to buy a thing.
Good morning, good morning. I'm Aaron Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So glad to have you with us this morning. I have a frog in my throat, but I'm not getting sick again. I'm just, it's just
a frog.
It's just a frog.
It's not Kermit.
It's morning, croak, croak. So, big news from the Supreme Court yesterday. Let's just jump right in.
Yeah, yesterday was a monumental news day, right? I think the bigger news is the retirement of Justice Kennedy, right? I mean, I think that's the one that's really got people like, oh my God, on the edge of their seats, because he has been that swing vote, right, on the Supreme Court for decades. On a lot of the major cases, he was the one, these 5-4 decisions, he was the one who you couldn't predict sometimes, right? So he's the one who was the vote that sort of brought us gay marriage. He wrote the gay marriage ruling. A lot of the abortion rulings, he was the one who sided with the pro-choice side, right? And stopped basically kept Roe v. Wade safe. And I think that's how the Democrats are going to be spinning the selection of this next justice.
They are. That's already been the headline.
Yeah.
Is that that Roe is that's going to be their rallying cry. I agree with you.
Yeah, and of course because of the way that Gorsuch was selected, right? The fact that Mitch McConnell was able to hold open that vacant Supreme Court seat until after the presidential election,
which is. People keep saying that nomination was stolen. It wasn't. They were following the rules. If you follow the rules, you're not stealing squat.
Yeah.
This is...
Did they play hardball politics?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did. And it certainly made that presidential election way more meaningful, right? Because people knew that whoever got it was going to come in and immediately be able to appoint a Supreme Court justice. Elections have consequences, and that is a double-edged sword. Yeah.
When it's in your favor, it's great. When it's not, it's awful. And that's just the way it is, guys.
Yeah. So it's fascinating because now you're seeing a lot of Democratic senators and other leaders posting about how they need to essentially halt the selection of this new Supreme Court justice until after the election, using the same argument that Mitch McConnell used. Now the difference is that Mitch McConnell has been the speaker, well not speaker, the House, what do you call it?
Majority leader.
Majority leader in the Senate, and so he has the authority, the power to sort of make these decisions, and the Republicans have the votes to do it. But the Democrats are going to try everything they can.
They're going to filibuster. They still have. Do they have the nuclear option in this?
They do not, because Mitch McConnell and the Republicans changed the rule for Supreme Court nominations. All they need is a 50% majority. They don't need to get the 60 votes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure President Trump and Mitch McConnell will make it happen.
Yeah. No, I'm certain of it too. But you're going to see a lot of stall tactics and things going on because this is a big deal. This is a really big deal, it's fascinating to me, how it happened, because yesterday was the last day of the court session. Everyone thought that he would announce in the morning as they opened the session. He said nothing. They made all their rulings yesterday, and they had some big rulings, which we'll talk about. And then it was later in the day that it was announced that he was retiring, and they published the letter that he sent to the president, which I thought was a very graceful and just a well-written letter announcing his retirement and saying to the president that, after 30 years of service, that it was time, and I thought he handled it very well. I have a lot of respect for Justice Kennedy.
Who appointed him? Was that Bush?
No, he was appointed by Ronald Reagan.
I was thinking it was Bush 41, but wow, he's been there a while.
And of course, now everyone's playing the biggest guessing game in Washington. Who's going to be the next Supreme Court justice, right? Who will Trump pick? And apparently, he's got a list that he's had up on his website since before the election, even, right? Because this is one of the issues that he was pressed on. And he made originally, I think it was a list of like 10, and then he added a bunch more. And I think now it's like 25 names or 20 names on a list. And there's just a bunch of names there, so everyone's wondering, and he's repeatedly said it's going to be somebody from that list.
It's interesting because people are upset about some of these rulings that have come down, specifically about and they're calling it the Muslim ban. It's not. It's the ban on a handful. Hang on. Of majority Muslim countries, but certainly not all Muslims around the world. They're the largest Muslim country on the planet is Indonesia, and you can still be Indonesian and come to the United States without a problem.
Yes, and all that's happening is the people from those countries are having to go through a much more extensive and longer background process before they're allowed to enter.
So that was ruled constitutional because the executive branch has the power to make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah.
This isn't about whether you like the law or not. This isn't about this isn't my side versus your side. It's what is the law allow, and does this power actually does this exist in law? And it's important because they've ruled basically very narrowly on which is their job, on the individual laws in all of these cases.
Yes. Well, and what's fascinating to me is that if you looked at just the specifics of what the law was asking, I don't think that any of these people would be upset if, let's say, Obama had done these same things. I think what gets them upset is the rhetoric of Trump in his wind-up and delivery
he's not
of these things,
helping himself.
That he makes it sound horrible and racist, and but when you look at the specifics of it, you're like, well, this is similar to stuff we've done in the past. It's really not that,
It's not all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, this list was first compiled by the Obama administration.
Yeah.
That's just something that they ended up not pursuing, but that was something that they entertained the idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fascinating. Now, the other big issue yesterday with the Supreme Court was the Janus decision. And we've talked about this one before. And this is the decision that essentially allows people who have been what are called fee payers in unions to no longer have to pay the fee, right? So let's say you're a public employee, and in order to have your job as a public employee, you were, in some of these states, you were required to join the union. And a lot of people said, well, I don't want to join the union. Well, the response to that was, well, okay, you're not going to be a member of the union, but you still have to pay a fee because you get some benefits from the union, right? And those were called fair share fees. And it goes back like 30-something years to a decision in the court called the Abood decision. Well, that was overturned yesterday. And so now, if you don't want to be a member of a public employee union, you don't have to, right? And it means that you don't have to pay anything, okay? And so the unions, of course, are going crazy because they had a significant number of people that were fee payers, fair share fee payers, that really didn't want to have anything to do with their union. Those people are automatically gone. And so they already know, I think it's like 8 to 10% of their membership gone. And I say membership because they were never really members, but they had to pay.
And talk about, in your particular district, how much does the average member pay, and then how much do the fee payers pay?
Okay, so the average member pays about $1,200 a year, right? So if you're a full member, that's what it's going to cost you. And the fee payers are paying about $700. I want to say they get, $500 or so back. And so, so they're still paying a significant amount.
Yes, they are.
It's not small.
And so, just to put this in perspective, right? Public, and this really only deals with public employees union. This is not the Teamsters or the IBEW or any of those, AFL-CIO. This is really public employees unions. And so what the union, you are as a public employee, you are forced to join a union, or you're right before this ruling, or you were forced to at least pay the people in the union. So you are being forced by the power of government into associating with somebody you may or may not want to associate with. And because of that, the unions who donate nationwide millions of dollars to favorable people they like, their political campaigns, the taxpayer is not represented. So that's corrupt in that sense. But it's also corrupt in that you're compelled to pay for things that you don't believe in.
Yes.
And so that's a freedom of association problem.
Yes. Well, and the argument had been that they were somehow sort of magically able to separate out what was political activity of the union and what was non-political. And so when you were being a quote-unquote fee payer, you were only paying for the non-political stuff. But a lot of the stuff that the union classified as non-political a lot of people would say, no, that was actually very
That's
political.
pretty political.
Yeah. And so, for instance, just the act of negotiating your contract, right, is a political act. You're basically negotiating with a political body, and it has political policy consequences, whether they get you more pay or different benefits. And so you may have a very different attitude about what you would prefer their negotiations to be, but you don't get a voice in that. Right? Once you're a fee payer, you don't even get to have a discussion about what they're negotiating for.
And that's true. You just, and you may not know until it's brought to you. I mean, in some unions, it's pretty opaque to the membership what's being negotiated. The other thing that's upsetting is, even if you're a fee payer, you know that your dollars are supporting candidates and issues that really don't have anything to do with you, but that are left-leaning. And you've watched this happen in your union, and talk about that a little bit.
So a lot of stuff that they do, they don't call it politics. They call it member information or whatever. And so they won't say vote for or whatever. They won't use those magic words that would make it obviously political, but they're sending out information on candidates that they like. And so they spend a lot of money that way that's surreptitiously political. But in my union, almost everyone that they've supported is left-leaning Democrat, right? California Teachers Association, and now I'm talking about at the state level, CTA, California Teachers Association, and the system is kind of rigged in a variety of ways. First off, I was a state council member, and when we would go and vote on these issues, all of the votes are secret ballot, which means that nobody has a record of how I voted. So when I go back to my local, the people who sent me there as their delegate, nobody can check to see that I voted the way they wanted. And so oftentimes you'll see, discussions, oh, we all believe this, but then when the votes come out, it turns out to be some other way. You know what I mean? And there's no way of checking who voted what because it's secret ballot.
There's a Soviet adage that the power doesn't come from those who cast the vote. The power comes from those who count the vote.
Yeah.
So you could have, they could have gone the way that everybody said they wanted to go, but the people counting the vote didn't like that outcome, so they just picked whatever they wanted.
And we saw games that would be played on the floor. Sometimes they would do a voice vote, right? And so you'd hear yays and nays, and it was clear, let's say, that the nays were louder, and then but the chair would rule no, the yays won, because that's the side that they wanted to win. And you get all these little games that get played, and using the rules of parliamentary procedure to sort of jam through what they want. And I laugh a little bit because we see the same thing happen, obviously, with our elected leaders in Congress. Politicians play these kinds of games. But if you didn't want to belong to this group in the first place, and you see all this stuff going on, it just really turns your stomach even more. Now, I had hoped that with the ruling in Janus, that what we'll see is the union become more responsive to all members, right? Because basically the union has been viewed as an organ of the Democratic Party, a left-leaning institution, okay? And so if you were at all moderate or conservative, you felt very much excluded from that aspect of the unionism.
You know why you felt that way?
Because you were.
Yes.
Yeah. And so my hope is that because they want our dollars, right, because they're afraid they're going to lose conservative members, that the union will shift its politics to become more egalitarian, right, that they will start supporting conservative and moderate candidates and including those members in better ways. But I don't necessarily see that happening. Instead, what I see happening already online is a lot of attacks on these people who may drop out.
Freeloaders,
free riders, And what I think is going to happen is that they're going to create labor strife. And I think they want to do that because one of the key arguments in this case before the Supreme Court was that part of the reason you have to have fair share is to keep the labor peace, right? And so if they can show that there's labor strife after you get rid of it, they can say, see, we need it.
So here's the thing. And we benefit from the union, and I think that, that the collectively bargaining benefits is not necessarily a bad thing. However, there is a downside because teachers are often, and this is not in every district, but in some districts, are treated like, just regular labor when you're highly educated, highly qualified professionals.
Yes.
So who are you? Are you a highly qualified professional, or are you a
widget?
A widget, yeah, exactly.
Replaceable really easily.
Exactly. And I that I think that that in a local environment, depending on the leadership in that district and whether how many of them have been teachers, let's be honest.
Yeah.
How does that leave where the administration sees its staff?
Exactly. There are so many outcomes I think we're going to see from this Janus decision, and a lot of it is going to come down to the people in the chair. And so I was asked last night by a friend online, how do I think my district's going to respond? Because I think it's going to be a district by district thing. Based on who the leadership of the local teachers union is, who the leadership is in the district, the school board members, the superintendent, and some districts this isn't going to be a big deal. Their business will continue as always. Everyone, large numbers of people will stay in the union.
Because they're happy with the union is representing their needs.
Yeah, but in districts where there's already been strife, right, and there's already challenges, I think you're going to see people getting upset, and I think you're going to see a variety of different responses. The response that I had kind of put forward for my local that was shot down, and I'm on the executive board, and I'm a pro-union guy, but I've got a different perspective sometimes than other people. I put forward the idea that we should offer membership at different tiers, because, so you could join and just be a local union member. Most teachers love their local. That's where they see the benefit, and it's the least political. It's the one that and when they do politics, it's the most directly tied to your pay, your benefits, and your working conditions, right? We help to elect school board members. We negotiate the contract. So most people love the local. But a lot of people get frustrated with the state and the federal, right, with the CTA and the NEA. So if you wanted to just be a local member, why can't you just do that? Save a lot of money and just join the part of the union that you like. And then if you want, you can maybe offer a membership that's just the local and the state, or if you really love it all, I want the supreme package. Give me everything, and really clearly define what are the benefits you're getting from each level of the union. I think if they did that, they'd keep a lot more members, but you'd also lose a bunch at the upper levels.
So what you're saying is, why doesn't the union become responsive to its membership?
Yeah.
At this point, the union has to sell itself. Before it didn't. It was compulsory. You were required by law to join.
Yeah.
And now the union has to say, okay, members, these are the benefits, and this is why we think you should join. Just like, any other organization. Like if you join the chamber, they give you the benefits. If you join a trade organization, like a industry organization, they give you the benefits.
Yes.
And they're held accountable by the membership to deliver those benefits.
Yes, and making changes like I mentioned at the state level for these state delegates, so that they have an actual record of their votes, right? That's published online, so you can go and see, be more transparent. There's a whole bunch of things they could do that I think would bring members back.
Here's the thing,
would say,
too.
oh, okay, I think that's a good idea.
I agree, and I'm sorry I interrupted.
It's okay.
The other thing is, right now, and you and I have talked about this, the Democratic Party takes the teachers union, for example, completely for granted.
Yes, they do.
So they don't even have to think about teachers. Yeah, we got them in the bag. They're our force. They're going to walk for us. They're going to call for us, et cetera, et cetera. And so the teachers' needs it doesn't really matter, because if it's a done deal, it's a done deal. Why do I need to pay attention to you?
Yeah.
And hopefully this will create an environment where the politicians have to be responsive to teachers on both sides of the aisle.
Yep.
The Republicans know they're never going at this point. No, they're never going to get teachers' support, and so teachers have become the enemy. And if you want to see that, listen to any Republican person running for office, and they rail against the teachers union as if the teachers union is the devil,
Yep.
because they know they will never get their support. So they're a good punching bag. Well, the average teacher is sick and tired
Yeah.
of being a punching bag.
And there's a lot of Republican teachers who are like, why are you beating us up? Why are you beating us up,
Yeah.
And they like those Republican elected officials because they agree with them on a lot of positions, and they don't get it. They don't understand why our union hasn't done more, because it doesn't have to be that way. The business community gets it. They've got friends on both sides of the aisle. They've figured out how to remain neutral except on issues that are important to them. And that's where they assert themselves, and they figure out ways to convince both sides to support them on their issues.
Indeed. So we are way over for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And I just deleted the break for this break. Give me a second.
No break for you.
No break for me, because we got to pay some bills. All right, we'll be right back.
Whether you swing a hickory shaft mashie niblick or the latest titanium hybrid, golf is your game, and the Boy Scouts need you. To be specific, the California Inland Empire Council of the Boy Scouts of America need your help in joining them for their 10th annual Golf Classic at Los Sureños Golf Club in Chino Hills on Friday, August 10th. A continental breakfast and a lunch are included, and we tee off at 7:45 a.m. Proceeds will help to offer young people responsible fun and adventure. This is Joe Lyons. Riverside Municipal Airport would like to now honor every American who has made the ultimate sacrifice in our armed forces.
242 years ago, a small group of men changed the course of American history. One of those men was Thomas Nelson, a merchant and planter from Yorktown. He was the son of a royal governor, but he had no royalist sympathies and was one of the most reliable patriots in Virginia. He resigned his commission in the state militia in order to attend the Continental Congress, and he played an important part in the movement for independence. During the Revolution, Nelson was a brigadier general, and at the Battle of Yorktown, he directed the American fire on his own home, which was being used as a British headquarters. On Independence Day 2018, we remember Thomas Nelson, who signed the Declaration of Independence and became a founder of our American Republic.
This Memorial Day, the Riverside Municipal Airport salutes Americans' veterans, honoring especially all of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Riverside Airport, itself a Civil Air Patrol site, works with 2 universities offering aviation degree programs, tower-controlled ILS, 6 flight schools, and an A&P school. Riverside Municipal also salutes the city's own National Cemetery. To all who have served above and beyond, to those who have slipped the surly bonds of earth, a heartfelt thank you from Riverside Municipal Airport. Life insurance is one of those subjects that many people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. That's why State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands focuses on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands at 909-894-4619 and put the life back into life insurance.
This is Dick from Carpet Masters. Carpet Masters has been serving the Inland Empire for over 55 years. Carpet Masters uses extraction cleaning for your carpet because there's no better cleaning to remove the soil from your carpet. All of our furniture cleaning is done by hand in your home or in our plant. Carpet Masters also offers dry cleaning for fine furniture. Call Carpet Masters at 793-7215. That's 793-7215 for Carpet Masters.
Do you want exposure for your business or organization? Check out Digital Network Advertising. Digital Network Advertising is where businesses display your ad inside their building. You can choose your marketing sites or jump on the DNA system and advertise with all participants. Your slide holds the virtual billboard for 14 seconds and is displayed 3 times an hour. It's a novel way to be seen, be discovered, and to be remembered. Digital Network Advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call 909-222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So we have a very short segment here. So I will say that be prepared to see Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers ratchet up their campaigns, and you've already seen it. interestingly enough, even before the announcement of Kennedy's retirement, I've seen all over the internet Planned Parenthood said, save your birth control, or and they're really making it about birth control. Roe v. Wade is likely going to be, if somebody's going to bring a suit, this court would probably knock it down. And the reason being is this is a court that reads the law, and if it's not in the law, it's not a law. And so there is no constitutional right to privacy. It was divined by the court in 1973. There's nothing enumerated in the Constitution that says you have a right to privacy. And that was the whole idea behind Roe v. Wade, is that, what you do behind closed doors is your business.
Yeah, and I think that what you might have happen is that, the question becomes, is the Supreme Court the correct place to, quote-unquote, divine new rights? And or should those rights be, if they are to be viewed as legitimate rights, shouldn't they become enumerated rights, meaning that someone should create a constitutional amendment that says this is a right and then get it passed by the voters?
So I believe that the separation of powers forbids the court from divining rights. I think that that's not their role. Their role is to look at the written Constitution and compare it to the written laws, and decide whether the laws are in conflict with that Constitution. And in all of the cases that have come down, their decisions have been very narrow. They look at the question that they were asked, and is that question that they were asked, not all the stuff around it, but just the question, does it violate the Constitution? And if it doesn't, or they only rule on that one piece, either way, not just if it doesn't, they only rule on the one piece. Yeah. It's very, very narrow, and we saw this with the bakers. The case out of Colorado with the people who didn't want to create the same-sex wedding cake. Yes. They didn't say that it doesn't necessarily apply to all cases that are like that. It applied to the case that was in front of them.
Yes, and they ruled on a very, very narrow, specific piece of what had happened in that case.
Right, and I think that's their role. That's what they're supposed to do. So with that, we're already going to take another break. I'm Erin Breaker.
And I'm Tobin Breaker.
And we'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. The summit between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin is officially a go.
We are just learning this morning the date and location for that talk has been set. It'll happen July 16th in Helsinki, Finland, just after the World Cup.
NBC's Hallie Jackson reporting from Washington. But again, July 16th in Helsinki for the Trump-Putin summit. The Supreme Court vacancy has Senate Republican and Democratic leaders drawing battle lines. Justice Anthony Kennedy announced his retirement yesterday, and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he'd like to get a replacement confirmed this fall. Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer said any confirmation process should be put on hold until after November's midterms. And Washington, D.C. is considering letting teenagers vote in the next presidential election. The district is considering a bill to lower the voting age to 16. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Breaker. In Upland on the 210 eastbound at Mountain Avenue, a stall is in the center divider. And in Rainbow all the way down in San Diego County on the 15 southbound between Rainbow Valley Boulevard and Mission Road, there's slow traffic. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. This morning we're looking at sunny skies, a high of 88. Patchy fog later this evening, clear, low 59. Fog starts your Friday, then sunshine, a high of 86. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California, KCAA, 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Are you or
or a loved one suffering from an addiction? If so, help is available. Many people are getting help from a recovery center called Sheer Recovery. You can call Sheer Recovery now at 888-SHEER-51. That's 888-743-3751. If you have insurance, your treatment may be covered at little to no cost. Most importantly, you can't lose your job because you decide to get help. Sheer Recovery is staffed with professionals who understand addictions and how to treat addictions. They understand what an addicted person goes through every day. So if you or a loved one are suffering from an addiction, it's time to call Sheer Recovery at 888-SHEER-51. That's 888-743-3751. A better life begins with Sheer Recovery. Call 888-743-3751 or go online at www.sheerrecovery.com.
It's time to make the Tri-City Center in Redlands a regular part of your weekly shopping experience. Tri-City is home to a wide assortment of quality businesses, including the all-new Ocean Aquatics. Check out their variety of exotic tropical fish, along with fish food, accessories, and tanks of all shapes and sizes. The Tri-City Center is located just off of Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. Visit the Tri-City Center today and find out why it's called the Mall with a Heart.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463.
This is KCAA.
Just take those old records off the shelf. I sit and listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Apparently, Washington, D.C. is being sued for gentrification.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense to me.
What's the argument? What happened?
Well, when gentrification happens, it's because real estate in a given city is expensive, and a lot of people still want to move there, and so young people who can't afford to live in the nicer neighborhoods will then, or the more affluent neighborhoods will then start buying up property and starting businesses and doing those sorts of things in the lower income neighborhoods. And when that happens, the cost of those neighborhoods goes up, often pushing out the low-income people who were living there.
Yes.
And it's terrible for the low-income people who are living there because they're pushed out of their homes. Many of them rent, and, the rents then become too high. We're seeing it happen in Los Angeles. You're seeing it happen all over the country.
Yes.
And even areas like Compton, which, if you were alive in the 80s and 90s, Compton had this terrible, terrible reputation as more immemorialized, as memorialized in NWA's music, but now that's prime real estate.
So as I'm looking at this this article about this, they've basically got two basic arguments. One is a race argument, that it's white people that are coming in pushing out black people, and then the second argument is a class issue, that it's wealthier people coming in and pushing out poor people. Right. Oh, and a third one, too, I guess, is ageism, right, that it's young people coming in and pushing out older established families. So they really are looking at a whole bunch of different issues. And the background on it's kind of fascinating because they go through a variety of different mayors of Washington, D.C., who sort of started this. And they basically read a book or heard about how you want to bring in this creative class, right? And so they created a variety of policies to try to attract these young, artistic people to Washington, D.C., right, who make more money, right? And those policies work. Those people have come.
And they contribute to the quality of life in a city.
Yes.
So you'll see this happen in Riverside. Riverside calls itself the city of arts and innovation.
Yep.
And they have embraced the arts and they have embraced technology in a way that attracts young, energetic people.
Yes. Now, what's fascinating to me is this lawsuit seeking $1 billion in damages.
Well, this is insane.
Yeah.
But the question, and certainly I want to have, we want to continue to have this conversation. What is gentrification moral? So the market capitalist answer of that is yes. I mean, that's just people can buy what they can afford, and they create what they can afford. And, if people have to move on, then they have to move on. Too bad, so sad. That's the market doing what the market does.
Yeah.
Now, the more socialist response to that is no, we have to protect the people who are living there. And is it more moral to protect the people who are living there than forcing the investors who own those properties to make less on their properties than the market would bear?
Yeah.
Or is it more moral for, you've invested into a property and you invest to have a return in that investment, to allow the market to do what it does, and the people who can't afford it are just going to have to move.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah. And the question I think too is what's the role of the government in this, right? Because that's who they're suing. They're suing the city government, so it's not they're not suing the private individuals, but they're suing the government.
Right, but they're the ones that they're the ones that choose the economic policy.
Yeah, but is the lawsuit the right way to change your government? Shouldn't you just elect people that believe the way you believe? I mean, isn't that the right way to do it? And according to what I'm seeing in the article here, the city is still a black majority city, right? So if you're claiming this is a racist thing that's happening, wouldn't you elect people that would then change those quote unquote racist policies, or run for office on that platform? But instead, no, they've decided to go for a lawsuit for $1 billion. Who gets the $1 billion? I mean, I always follow the money, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think this is about the money more than anything. That's my skeptical, cynical opinion about this, right? That it's just a group of people who don't like what's going on and have decided, hey, maybe this is a way I can get paid. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because the city will probably settle it, and maybe they'll give me some money, and then we'll get a few extra houses over in this area for my people, and
So we have a break at an odd time now because we have a guest at an odd time. So let's go ahead and take another break. I'm Erin Breaker.
And I'm Tobin Breaker.
We'll be right back.
Are you or a loved one suffering from an addiction? If so, help is available. Many people are getting help from a recovery center called Sheer Recovery. You can call Sheer Recovery now at 888-SHEER-51. That's 888-743-3751. If you have insurance, your treatment may be covered at little to no cost. Most importantly, you can't lose your job because you decide to get help. Sheer Recovery is staffed with professionals who understand addictions and how to treat addictions. They understand what an addicted person goes through every day. So if you or a loved one are suffering from an addiction, it's time to call Sheer Recovery at 888-SHEER-51. That's 888-743-3751. A better life begins with Sheer Recovery. Call 888-743-3751 or go online at www.sheerrecovery.com.
Hi everybody, Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Alladort, my mortgage man at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early, purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com. That's loanfinancialplanner.com.
Or call Steve Alladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you always tired and worn out? Is it affecting your work and personal life? Well, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study of your sleep patterns. With their trained specialists, they will diagnose your sleep habits and will give you a prognosis for getting a great relaxing night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including Fontana, and will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. To find out more, give them a call at 844-SAD-5050. That's 844-SAD-5050. South Pacific Sleep Lab. Start resting easy and sleeping sound today.
KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. I'm so pleased to welcome to the show Ken Auletta. He's been the Annals of Communication columnist for The New Yorker since 1992. He's the author of 7 previous books, including 3 national bestsellers. In ranking him as America's premier media critic, the Columbia Journalism Review concluded no other reporter has covered the new communications revolution as thoroughly as Auletta. He has written for various newspapers and magazines and appeared regularly as a television interviewer and analyst. He started writing for The New Yorker in 1977. He has written a new book, and he's joined us to talk about it. Ken Auletta, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you write about the media, which if you were to have gone back 30 years and projected what has happened to the media as a whole, I don't think that you would even get an inkling of what had happened. I don't think you could understand what had happened.
You're so right. I mean, the change is profound. I mean, you can go back 5 years ago and say, could you have projected this? I mean, 10 years ago, what would you have said about, would Facebook have 2.2 billion users? No way you'd say that.
No, you'd think it would be like MySpace, and it's basically teenagers, and that's about it.
That's right. And actually, we thought MySpace would be the dominant, as we thought Yahoo would be the dominant social network.
Yeah, and I think back then in Facebook, people were still throwing sheep at each other.
Right.
So advertising has changed tremendously, and one of the trends in advertising that I find a little troubling is this requiring businesses to kind of pick a side because we've become a divided nation, and so businesses are having to make political stances when they really just want to sell soft drinks.
But one of the things, this is not new to the business world. Generally speaking, if you have your friendly product you want to place in a friendly environment, if Bill O'Reilly is saying things that seem unfriendly, or someone on the left is saying things that you deem to be unfriendly or controversial, oftentimes an advertiser will say, well, I don't want my friendly product in that unfriendly environment. This has happened 50 years ago as well as more recently. So this is not new for advertising. It's one of the reasons why people say, should advertisers have that kind of power and clout? And maybe we should replace advertising with a subscription model. The problem is that most people can't afford subscriptions. So advertising is essential.
Well, and then who do you then? I'm thinking about the hundreds of news channels and information channels, YouTube and on cable television, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you like multiple news sources, it gets pretty expensive to subscribe to them all.
It is, and also on the other hand, what supports those news outlets is advertising. But as they bifurcate and multiply, advertising is not going to support all of them. And that's why you see a shrinkage, not just in traditional newspapers shrinking and magazines shrinking, but we now see it happening in digital world where they don't have enough support from advertising, so they die.
So talk about the impact of the digital landscape, social networking. Facebook is a monster, meaning the size. That's really a game changer. And it seems, one of the interesting things is that Facebook is really behaving as an editor, saying we're going to run this, but we're not going to run that, as opposed to like just a board where people post whatever they want.
Well, it used to be that Facebook thought it was a science they were doing, and their data scientists or engineers, that their algorithms could determine what's fake and what's not fake, and what is a real person watching it or not, or how long someone has actually watched a video ad or not. And what they discovered starting in the 2016 presidential campaign is that fake news got through, and they were manipulated by that, and that advertisers were paying for ads that were not being viewed by human beings. And so suddenly Facebook said, "Oh my God, we have to do what old media does, and we have to hire some editors. They call them curators, to basically try and screen out what is real news and what is fake news." But of course, when they do that, and they hired 4,000 of these folks, not just relying on their algorithms and engineers, when they do that, however, they get into the question of censorship. And are they screening out things that maybe the public wants to see or not? And Facebook is really in the crosshairs of the government today, and should be. I mean, the government should be looking at whether they, A, violate privacy, B, whether they have too much power, C, whether, you know, they have the ability to buy up potential competitors like Instagram, and take away competition. And so one of the big questions for the future for all of us is, will at some point the government be the 800-pound gorilla that says, we have to look at them, meaning Facebook and Google and Amazon, the way in 2000 we looked at Microsoft and brought them to an antitrust trial?
Wow. Well, and you think about Amazon and Google too. They know everything about you. They really do, totally. Especially if you've got an Alexa, one of their Echoes in your home. They know everything about you. I have it. Alexa, blue light goes on. Yeah, we do too.
Is it listening to me now?
I think it is.
I don't know.
Well, we had the case where there was somebody they were talking in their home, and then Alexa, the Echo emailed it. Or texted it to a friend. That was recent, and I don't remember the exact case, but that was in the last year where it was an accidental thing.
Amazon said it was an accident.
Yes.
Well, but we have reason to say, hey, was it really an accident?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least raise the question. It's of concern. They have so much information about what we do, what we search for online, what we purchase online, what we read, what time we get up, what we order for food. They just have a tremendous amount of data, and they want to sell that to advertisers, and advertisers want to buy it. And at some point, the question is, will the public say, too much? You shouldn't have all that information about me.
Yes, and yes, I think that it's. I think the level of and we are. It seems that we are marketed marketed to in almost everything that we do, and I think that you reach a point where people no longer see the advertising.
Well, you see, that increasingly is true when you think about the cell phone. The cell phone is now the dominant instrument we use in our lives, much more so than a laptop or a desktop computer. And it's as personal to you as your wallet or your purse. And the thought that people can somehow invade that personal device and start pitching you messages and say, Ken, we know you're walking. We know that 2 weeks ago you bought a sport jacket at this department store. Well, you're only 2 blocks away from that department store. If you go in today, you can buy another sport jacket for 20% off. Now, will I say when they pitch that, oh my God, this is they're offering me a really good service, a really good coupon discount, or will I say, how the hell do you know so much about me?
Yeah.
That's one of the basic questions.
You're creeping me out right now.
Right.
So how does the consumer, push back on that? I mean, think about, let's use the cell phone as an example. If you buy the iPhone 8, which is not the 10, but the 8, you're still going to spend $900. So you're buying this piece of equipment that was not inexpensive, and you're buying a service that is also not inexpensive, so that it's expensive. And now you're being advertised to. And at what point will the consumer, and how can the consumer say enough?
Well, they do. Right now, 20% of Americans have an ad blocker on their cell phone. And they basically, an ad blocker means they can't get ads on it. In Western Europe, it's a third of people have an ad blocker on their phone. So that's one way you block it. On the other hand, if you block ads, you are blocking the support that most of media relies on for its revenue. The second way you block it is you don't give them access to your cookies. You opt out. It's very cumbersome to do that, and they make it deliberately cumbersome to get out. But you can actually stop companies from having access to your cookies. You can go on Google, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Amazon, and basically say, I don't wish to be tracked.
Now,
and go through the laborious process of untracking you.
The other thing that's been very, very troubling in big media is the fact that they've kind of picked sides. Not kind of, they've picked sides, and they market and they give news stories that are specifically tailored to their particular side. If you're on MSNBC, you're Rachel Maddow, you're left-leaning, and everything on that channel is left-leaning. If you're Fox News, it's the opposite. And this polarization is creating a polarized populace.
It's a real problem. I mean, the good news is that you have many more sources of information today than you had, and that serves the interests of democracy. You can, if you want, get a variety of different opinions. The problem is that too often many people don't get a variety of opinions and get their facts from their favorite sites, be it Fox on the right or be it MSNBC on the left or some blog or podcast that is consistent with their political views. And therefore, people deal with different sets of facts. You don't have a common set of facts, and therefore, how the hell do you reach compromise and agreement in a democracy when people say, well, Trump is saying it's fake news.
Right.
And CNN is saying, well, it's not fake news, it's fact. And what's the fact? And Trump supporters believe Trump, and others don't. It's a real problem.
And because we are so polarized, then we can be lazy and dismissive and say, well, I believe everything this side believes, and so I don't even have to continue to dig because that's my guy or my girl or whatever. And we've created lazy people are not using critical thinking at all.
Well, that's the problem on the public side. The problem for the media is that the assumption is that we in the media don't represent an interest. We are, in a sense, neutral or giving you the facts as best we could discover them. But if the public doesn't believe that, if they believe we're in the fake news business or they believe that we're advancing our own ideology or interest, then the whole system breaks down.
So where do we go from here?
I laugh because if you think I have an answer to that, I mean, I don't know where we go from here. We basically have to, the press has to try and win back the confidence of the public, but so do advertisers. I mean, if the public views an advertising as an intrusion or views Facebook and Google and the people who collect data about you as violating your privacy, then we all have a trust issue we've got to address. The press has to address its trust issue by being careful with the facts and not being, overly opinionated in what they say. And the President of the United States has to stop denouncing just in sweeping ways everything is fake news and encouraging his supporters to hiss at reporters who are trying to do their job. And advertisers have to stop collecting information or win back the trust of people that they're not going to abuse that information. Tough, but everyone has a responsibility here.
We all have to act like adults. It's time. Well, Ken Auletta, thank you so much for joining us. The book is Frenemies, The Epic Disruption of the Ad Business and Everything Else. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been very, very enlightening.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are at the end of our show for today. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. Have a great day, everyone.
Waiting for the break of day, searching for something to say, flashing lights against the sky, giving up, I close my eyes.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
I'm Chad Lesher, CNBC Radio. The futures are falling following a report that U.S. employers increased the number of workers they laid off last week. 9,000 more people applied for first-time jobless benefits, although the level hovers near multi-decade lows. Investors are also concerned that U.S. economic growth has been revised down to a lackluster 2% in the first quarter, though economists expect a big rebound in Q2. Walgreens, which just joined the Dow on Wednesday, says its quarterly earnings beat Wall Street estimates, that it's buying back up to $10 billion of its own shares, and that it's raising its dividend. U.S. companies have been buying back their shares at an aggressive pace, raising questions about the way the new corporate tax cuts are being used. And Accenture's revenue also tops estimates, benefiting from investments in its digital and cloud services. The Dow futures are down 125 points. John Lesher, CNBC Radio.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
Life's never perfect, but as realtors, we know living it in the perfect place can make a big difference. Imagine watching your toddler vomit all over the hardwood floors when you almost settled for carpet. Screaming loudly into a pillow in that private first-floor master. Finding the mudroom covered in what you hope is mud and remembering why you wanted a mudroom. So get the perfect place to house all of life's imperfections. Get Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will get together for a summit next month in Helsinki, Finland.
The White House confirmed this morning that Trump and Putin will meet on July the 16th. Trump's national security advisor, John Bolton, met with Putin yesterday to iron out the details.
Matt Cook reports the Helsinki summit will come just a few days after Trump meets with other NATO nation officials. Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy's retirement announcement is setting off a battle in the Senate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he'd like to get a replacement confirmed this fall. Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer says the confirmation process should be put on hold until after November's midterms. The nation's unemployment lines are getting longer. This morning's figures from the Labor Department show 227,000 Americans filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits last week. Officials say that's 9,000 more than the previous week. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Brinker. In Temecula on the 15 southbound between the 79 south to Winchester Road, between the 79 Winchester Road and the 79 South Temecula Parkway, there's some stop-and-go traffic. Also in Temecula on the 15 southbound before Rancho California Front Street, there's a disabled vehicle and the left lane is blocked. In Upland on the 210 eastbound at Mountain Avenue, a stall is in the center divider. In Rubidoux on the 60 eastbound after Rubidoux Boulevard, a wreck is now along the right shoulder. And in Rainbow on the 15 southbound between Rainbow Valley Boulevard, the old one, and the new one, Rainbow Valley Boulevard, there's slow traffic. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker. This report is brought to you by Wawanesa Insurance. Wawanesa Property Insurance has big savings for owners and renters. It's the Wawanesa way. For a free quote, call 877-WAWANESA or visit wawanesa.com.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. This morning we're looking at sunny skies, a high of 88. Patchy fog later this evening, clear, low 59. Fog starts your Friday, then sunshine, a high of 86. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California, KCAA. 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Are you or a loved one suffering from an addiction? If so, help is available. Many people are getting help from a recovery center called Sheer Recovery. You can call Sheer Recovery now at 888-SHEER-51. That's 888-743-3751. If you have insurance, your treatment may be covered at